Okay, so welcome back, everybody. Another episode of Conversations. I am your host, Dr. Ayo. I am grateful for you to be here with me today. We're talking about burnout, and I have a good friend with me. And as I always do with my guests, I like them to introduce themselves so that you know how they want you to know. Well, I guess again. As I always do with my guests, I get them to introduce themselves because I want you to know how they want you to know them. So please introduce yourself to people and don't hold back on everything that you are and do.
Yeah, no, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here, to share here. So my name is Inamuna Beregha. I'm a doctor. I'm a GP. Somewhere in the Northwest. I love to share experiences. I love to help people. If there's anything that they can learn from my experience. Currently, I'm a locum GP, more of a portfolio GP, trying to vary my practice. I used to do just clinicals. Now I do other things. So yeah, that's me in a nutshell.
All right. Well, thank you for your time. We're gonna go straight into it. So tell me, tell me the abridged version of why medicine, why GP.
So yeah, so I think it's an easy one for me. My father was a doctor, so I saw him, help a lot of people, and they had very good testimonies. So I thought that yeah, I think I would like to help people too. That was my initial resolve, and it's still my resolve.
Yeah.
I think my mission is to kind of give people a very good experience of care.
Yeah.
So if you meet me, you will know that you met someone different.
Okay.
So I still get a lot of fulfillment from my job. I was speaking with one of the GPs I work with. I said I have one of the best jobs in the world because I get the fulfillment there and then. It's not delayed, and
Yeah.
I'm not confused about it. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Nice.
I love what I do.
Yeah.
So that's why a doctor and why GP in a nutshell. Yeah.
Okay. Was your dad a GP?
No, he wasn't. He was an ONG guy. He was an ONG guy.
Oh, right.
I
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
I decided to go for the easy life.
Is it easy? I
No,
don't
it's
know,
not.
man. Is
It's
it?
definitely not. It's definitely
It's
not
not
easy.
easy.
It's
Ah,
not easy.
it's,
I thought it was easy.
you thought it was easy. Yeah.
Yeah, but
Okay.
yeah, yeah. It
It's
was
not
part of my
easy.
motivation. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay. So you wear many hats. You said you're a GP. But so I know that, from a family point of view, you're married and you have children. So
yes.
tell me about like how you balance all that. Is there something to balance? Is there such a thing as balance?
Um, yes, yes. There is such a
Okay,
thing as
definitive.
balance. Yes, to put it simply, there's such a thing as balance. So,
Okay,
um, how well do I balance it is a different question, but I do balance it.
okay.
Currently, to the best of my ability, I think it took me a process to
Mm,
get here. So I guess we're going right into it. I mean, I would say that probably took me a couple of years, over the
okay,
past kind of 2 years, with the help of my wife to kind of reevaluate my priorities,
okay.
and kind of also reevaluate my source of identity.
Mm,
Um, you know, so I think the past 2 years, because of my experience, so I'll give a little bit of a background. As a GP trainee, during my final year of training, there was the recorded consultation assessment, which was the RCA, the renowned RCA exam, which was I found quite. I didn't anticipate it to be that difficult, but I think I
mm,
wrote the exam, 5 times.
okay.
That was a source of burnout for me.
Mm,
I was running on fumes. I
mm,
said I just needed to pass this exam. It was, I did my SC3 for 2 years, 24 months. So running on fumes, and then I finished, and I thought that okay, that's the end of it. And then
yeah.
became a GP, and I was like, yeah, why not? I was I was in 4 days, which is equivalent to a full-time GP.
Yeah.
It was a heavy job, lovely environment, lovely staff, but I guess my perception of GP as chilling, which well, not exactly, but I approached it. I chose GP because it was flexible.
Yeah.
I felt like I could build my life and have my weekends.
Yeah.
So that experience of ST3 and 6 months of being a salary GP just made me think about my life. Firstly, failure of exams, which is basically all my life medicine. That's what I know. In
Yeah.
my mind, I think in doctor this, and it just like what I thought was the most important thing in my life.
Mm.
What was my source of identity? In a way, security. Like, okay, this is what I do. This is what I offer. This is the value I bring. I
Okay.
was failing at the central thing in my life.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
I was feeling at the central thing in my life,
Yeah.
and then I think because of burnout, what was I was very sure of myself, very goal oriented, go for it, put in the work, get the result, and all of a sudden, I I've lost my efficacy,
Yeah.
self
Okay.
efficacy,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then there goes my self esteem
Yeah.
because
Okay.
I'm like, okay, who am I again? But I think
Mm.
that process, I can say luckily for me, earlier in my career, I had it. Obviously, in that time, it wasn't a very nice experience
Wasn't
because
pleasant in the moment. Yeah.
you're spinning.
You've said so many things I want to
Yeah,
unpack. So you talked
yeah,
about the exam and doing it 5 times and
yeah,
failure. So the thing about all these kinds of things is they're a type of stressor.
yeah.
And taking a step back, obviously there's stress that can be good for you and there's stress that can be harmful. So did you feel stress? Were you aware of stress at the time?
Um, Eventually, yes. But to answer that question about balance,
Yeah.
because I just for people listening, I don't want to jump
Yeah.
all over the place. It's just I had to kind of reevaluate. So kind of shift the source of my identity away from defining myself as doctor
Yes.
to just creating another foundation. Kind of retooling in my mind.
Yeah.
Um, and also reevaluating my priorities. So in terms of
Mm,
okay, you know what, I have a family. They
mm.
need me. Especially at this moment with young kids. So that automatically creates a kind of balance for me. Because even if I, work hard or I want to, because I enjoy it, I like getting immersed,
Yeah.
in work, and that's my deep work.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like that's where I walk and I feel like, okay, yeah, I've exerted myself. I'm using my brain, I'm using my skills, I'm using my
Yeah.
faculties.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
still have a family. So it helps me create a lot of balance. So in a way,
Okay.
I'm grateful for that experience. So to answer your question about, you know, did I feel stressed? I did not feel stressed initially. I didn't recognize it
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
because I
Okay.
think that was part of the exam failure. I just kept on going and kept on going and
Did
kept
you
on
take
going.
any breaks in between?
I didn't take any break from working.
But
I didn't
like
take,
sometimes
yeah,
when, especially let's say you're trying something and it's not going the
yeah.
way and you quote fail, some people are like, okay, let me not think about it for 6 months or a year. Or did you like every time book it straight away
Fi-
back in?
Finally, I did. Initially, go for it, go for
Yeah.
it, go for it. Because I
Okay.
was like, I didn't recognize why I was failing. I felt I had the skills, and
Yeah.
obviously I was on the borderline. Not like I was failing massively. I was failing
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
2 points,
Yeah.
then
Oh,
three
wow.
points.
That's
If I had
so
a
annoying.
Yeah, so it's almost like I'm there, so I wasn't recognizing
Yeah.
the problem. I just felt like if I had one case, if I had two cases,
Yeah.
I was like, it's not my fault. It's the environment, it's
Yeah.
demographics, it's the
Okay.
exam. It's like, it's
Okay.
just all of those things until finally, I think I changed the environment and
Yeah.
I kind of took a break, 6 months, kind of, that's where I was doing the restructuring in my
Yes.
mind
Yeah.
in terms of my identity.
Mm.
I'm going like I have so much invested in this,
Mm.
my mind, my body, everything. So I had so much that I wasn't seeing the big picture.
Bigger
I was
picture.
just too focused on I need to
Yeah.
pass. Like this is my life and things like that. So I took a break eventually for about 6 months. I took a break for exactly 6 months. I took a break. I just stopped recording, stopped go, just took a
Yeah.
pause. And I think finally I passed it and I passed it. So I wasn't even borderline. I was like 30 marks above
Wow. Okay.
the pass
Just
mark.
taking a
So
break.
taking a break, finding
Wow.
myself,
Yeah.
really, sometimes you're finding yourself, but I really like was just
Just being.
redefining,
Mm.
finding myself, doing some deep work
Yeah.
until I could recognize myself again. Because I think the exam, you have to be in an exam mode.
Yeah.
There's a persona that you kind of pick up
Yeah.
to be in that mode. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I had lost, I couldn't recognize myself anymore.
Okay. So I have a few questions. So you said you couldn't recognize yourself, which means that you had an idea of yourself before this period, and you
Yeah,
said you found yourself again. So
yeah,
like,
yeah. Sorry, go on. Sorry, go
so
on.
like in high, so and you were aware of the fact that I was hold on. How did I get here? So, what do you think contributed to? Do you know that when people read the story of the prodigal son, there are things that happened and happened and happened and happened, and then the Bible says he came to himself. So what do you think led to the situation where you had to come to yourself?
Um, I do a lot of reflection, so obviously this answer becomes easy to me to
Okay, okay.
be like. I think I was more of like a shell or a shadow
Mm,
of myself. So I think then I had a young kid that was quite young, toddler.
yeah,
Also, I had a wife who, she is a clinician, so she was understanding, but still there's an impact. So I think once I looked beyond myself and looked at the impact it was having
okay,
um, on those around me,
yeah,
I wasn't too introspective. Because initially, I was just introspective, like, okay, what's going on here? I need to do this. This
yeah,
is for me. I need to become this. I need to do this.
okay,
But I still have the book somewhere. There's a box somewhere in my room, and that's the only thing that's inside that book. And I was like, I need to um, get through this so I can be here for my family. And I
yeah,
think that did the trick for me.
yeah, okay,
Because obviously,
okay,
because and it's part of the process of I was shifting from just like I'm Doctor This to more of like I'm more than this. When I said I was moving my, the legs on which my identity stood was
yeah, okay.
mainly doctor, because that's from 13 years old. That was my
Yeah,
dream,
I can relate.
and I
Yeah,
went through lots of challenges
yeah,
to get to where I am. So
mm,
that whole definition, that whole discussion, my future, what I'm thinking, what I need to do is all
yeah,
within that sphere of doctor. So probably just, you know, finding more legs upon which my identity can stand. One of them that was core was family.
yeah,
So that kind of just helped me realize like, oh my God, what am I doing? I'm a father.
yeah,
I'm a husband.
yeah,
And that was kind of a wake up call for me to be
yeah.
like, okay, I need to change this now.
When you said about you were aware of the impact it was having, was that conversations having, or like you said, you just took a step back and say, look, you know, um, did you come to it by yourself, or did you have like clues or
I'll say,
cues?
I'll say cues. I'll say cues. Cues where I will say cues because children. Let me talk about the child because obviously children have a way of letting you know that you Not here.
Yeah, yeah,
They say certain things. With adults, you might look at the statements as loaded, so you
yeah,
just kind of categorize it,
yeah,
compartmentalize it, like, oh, this is, have one or two excuses, and like,
yeah, yeah,
but with children, they're so honest and pure, and they just
yeah.
let you know that, yeah, you're somewhere in Asia or Africa, you're not here.
You're not here. Yeah, yeah.
So
I I can
that was
relate
it.
to what you're saying because it's like I know for my life, for the majority since I was in primary school, I wanted to be a doctor.
Yeah.
And then I also had a challenging road to get here. So I became a doctor, and then the next thing is to become a consultant. And I think when I became a consultant, I was like,
Is this it?
honestly, I remember
Yeah.
I remember the first
Yeah.
consultant meeting that I went to, and people were arguing over some rubbish, and I was like, "This is what I've been, this is what I've been striving for." But I can relate to the it's all, like almost like the dust has settled, or that pushing. It's almost like a situational awareness thing, right? I
Yeah.
was talking to one of the junior doctors today on the ward round. So the reason that the person who runs the cardiac arrest doesn't get involved is because if they do, they lose situational awareness. And I'm getting a sense that from what you're saying is that because you're so focused, I have to pass this exam. This thing defines me. Sometimes the other things that are happening in my life, my relationship with my wife, my relationship with my kids, my ability to take time for myself and rest is falling by
Yeah.
the wayside because I'm just focused. I've got to.
Hyper focused. Hyper
Yeah.
focused. Yeah.
Do you relate to that?
Yeah, that was 100%. That it's almost like, you have a stutter in your brain.
Okay.
Like you're trying to shift your focus to these other things, but it's
Yeah.
almost like you're just, I was just kind of divided.
Yeah.
But by default, I was putting my energy into my role as a doctor.
Yeah.
So then the other things that could have been like, a resource for me or a source of strength for me were almost
Mm,
like a distraction
yeah.
to
I
me.
get it.
So,
I
but
get it.
by choice, the fact that I had to pass this exam, I was now treating those things that were pillars as distractions. I just
Yeah.
had to re-engineer,
Yeah.
step
Okay.
back and then re-engineer the whole process.
So I want to delve into like
Yeah.
the things that you did, but I'm also interested in how did you identify that this is burnout rather than this is another entity? Am I depressed? Am I anxious? How did you land on being able to label it burnout?
I think um, I'm. I know it's burnout. Looking back, then did I see clearly that it was burnout? Not when I was a trainee,
Mm,
but when I became a GP. And the hallmark of like what did it for me was imposter syndrome.
mm,
A very bad case of imposter syndrome. a very bad case of imposter syndrome, and
okay.
the self doubt was on another universe. Like every single decision, see,
Wow.
and that was like that just did it for me.
Mm,
And then the secondary things were that lack of efficacy. Like I
yeah.
couldn't just put like a knife trying to go through a very thick tarpaulin, but it's not sharp, it's blunt.
Blunt.
I'm
Yeah.
applying a lot of force to do things that are supposed to be simple. I'm
Mm,
applying a lot of force. I'm overthinking every
yeah.
decision. So I lost my efficacy, I lost my confidence in terms of imposter syndrome. Um, and then I became cynical. Cynical. I became
Cynical.
very skeptical of,
Cynical. Yeah. Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, and when you're talking to people, you're tending towards negativity.
Cynicism. Yeah.
Yeah, like,
Yeah.
and when you see it in other people,
Yeah.
let me say it stinks. you could just be like, I think I'm just gonna
I'm
go
gonna avoid
somewhere
it.
before I get this cold.
Yeah.
Then I'm having a discussion, and then I think about it. I was like, I was just negative, negative, negative,
Yeah.
and it can be infectious. I was like, yeah, that was I could hear myself just, the overwhelm was spewing out of me, like
Okay.
the cynicism and everything.
Wow.
So
Okay.
yeah, were there other things going on? Was there anxiety? Was there, because of the challenge, the overwhelm? Was there some low mood? But once those were addressed, um,
Yeah.
by I'll be honest, by taking medications and
Yeah.
speaking with people and just getting to that place, because that was part of the 6 month process.
Yeah.
Then I could identify the burnout for what it was.
Yeah.
Which was those main things of
Yeah.
even
I
yeah,
can see you've done your research in terms of like burnout, because you're right. It's like the cynicism. You know.
yeah.
What about your energy levels? Did you feel?
Get me started.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, wiped out, just wiped out. I think that was more of just the energy that I used to do supposedly simple things,
Yeah.
the overthinking and the
Yeah.
doubt and just like the catastrophizing,
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
and so it was easy for me to identify. Like, I used to spend so much energy to do those simple things, and at the
Simple
end of the
things.
day, my tank was empty.
Empty. Yeah.
Um, the
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, it's so for people who haven't like done the work that you've done, or the level of study, but those three things are like pathognomonic of burnout. So it's the physical and emotional exhaustion. So it's not just, oh, I'm a little tired. It's everything is an effort, and I'm not able to. I'm functioning, but like you say, I'm running on empty.
you're underwater.
Underwater, yeah. The
Yeah,
cynicism and the disengagement with work. You can take this job, and and the inefficacy, like you say, simple things become very, very complicated. And you've identified it really well in terms of this, because it can become a self-fulfilling prophecy, and it can become a cycle that you go on. So I feel ineffective in this situation, so my self-esteem is affected. But actually, what I believe about myself really contributes to my ability to function.
yeah,
And then
yeah.
it can become a thing. Okay. Do you think other people around you identified that Inamuna is not, there's something, you know?
Um, I I didn't stop walking, and it it's ironic. Let me use the word ironic, because I knew that that was my lifeline. So what was causing me stress was still my outlet.
Okay.
So the fulfillment that I managed to get through,
Yeah.
or let me just call it validation that I
Okay.
got
Yeah.
through
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
my work, was still a lifeline.
Mm.
So apart from maybe my clinical supervisor or my educational supervisor,
Yeah.
and a few other people whom I opened up, to, you wouldn't know, because I didn't stop doing what I was doing.
Yeah. Okay.
I didn't stop at that point any activity,
Yeah.
because I think my concern was I might lose momentum, um, and if I stopped, I was afraid to know what might happen. That was my
Yeah. Okay.
that was my source of certainty. That was my lifeline. That was my
Yeah.
activity.
It can. Yeah.
Um, I couldn't afford to
At
to
that
stop
time,
it.
it was the thing that defined you.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
who would
So
you
there's a lot of
become if you
masking.
don't do the thing? Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
I think I probably masked it well because I'm a man of faith. So even those activities, let me call it activities, I didn't really stop it.
Mm.
Um, but I knew well within myself that I am hanging on by a thread. But
Yeah. Okay.
I don't think my work suffered. So I had to spend more energy to
To keep the
accomplish
standard. Yeah.
to keep the standard high. But I knew that
Yeah.
at the end of the day, I had nothing else to give to anybody.
Mm.
Um, so yeah, I think I
And
masked very
in
well.
hindsight, because obviously you did take a break. In hindsight, do you think that you would have advised yourself to take a break sooner than you did
Um,
in the context of the constant pursuing of the passing the exam?
I'll give an answer and then I'll qualify it.
Okay.
Yes, yes. In hindsight, I would have told myself to take a break and just breathe so I could approach. Because at the end of the day, I kind of just approach things more lightly and easily with less seriousness
Yeah.
and more flow and
Yeah.
accomplished a better result than when
Mm.
I was like really uptight, super focused,
Yeah.
laser. Um, you know, I would have advised myself to just take a chill pill and just relax.
Yeah.
But obviously, my visa status wouldn't have
Allowed you to
let
not.
me
Yeah.
to do that. And that was
Yeah.
something I had in mind. There was a lot of, uncertainty, which
Mm.
created a lot of anxiety. And I
Yeah.
felt I needed to do this. If I really like drilled down, could I have still taken a break? A 3 month break, a 4 month break, a 6 month break? Yes, but I guess that clouded my judgment a little bit. And
Yeah.
I was racing against time. So
Yeah.
maybe that's something for the many people might not understand that experience if
Yeah.
you've not been on that, clock to be like you need to do
Has
this before this
by this
time.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And but
Yeah.
I think it's you touch on a massive point because it's so difficult when there is something that you either feel that you have to do or you actually have to do.
Yeah.
So like,
Yeah.
if you are the sole provider or you're the lion's share, in terms of the home, you know, the even the thought of giving yourself the permission to say, I need a month, I need 2 months. Like, where's the family going to be if the family
Yeah.
rely on me to be able to for us to eat, for us to have heating, for us to these are big things. And I think you alluded to it before. Like, for all you knew in hindsight, there probably was a way to maybe help deal with this. That because of the fact that you weren't talking, you know,
Yeah.
you didn't put yourself in a position to get that kind of advice sooner. And
Yeah. Yeah.
I think especially men, I think
Yeah.
sometimes
Yeah.
we're stoic to the point of um, it being detrimental to ourselves. I think
Yeah.
yeah, I'm being generalistic here, but often even men from certain places, we're not so good. We're not so
Yeah.
good at being honest with the struggle. There's almost like a shame attached to it. Why? Especially
Yeah.
because a lot of our parents, they did so much with so
They
with
didn't.
so little.
I think I don't. I just think they didn't share their struggles
Yes.
with us.
Yeah.
That's.
Yeah.
I think that because you can't say they didn't struggle, but that's a different topic, anyways. But it's
Absolutely.
just. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. No, because I always look at, like, say, for instance, my dad did a PhD. He did business. He was a pastor of the church. My mom did. She did a PhD whilst working nights, whilst raising three boys, and be like,
Yeah.
just.
Yeah.
But you're right in that the reality is that they didn't talk to us about the things that they struggled with, and or maybe they didn't give themselves the opportunity to put their head above the parapet and ask even themselves, how am I?
Yeah.
How am I doing?
Yeah.
Uh, so I mean, you said you alluded to the fact that you needed to talk to somebody. So was that like a professional,
Yeah,
or
I spoke with a professional. I spoke with a coach. I had to speak with my wife. I think there was a lot of stigma around the fact, like, you don't want to look like you're not managing.
yeah,
You want to be the man. Um, I've never been that person that would be like I'm a superhero. But this was particularly difficult because the root was, very deep.
yeah,
Now, when I said the root was very deep, now I'm talking about it with ease on a
yeah,
platform
okay,
like this. But
yeah,
then it's just a muddy pool of thoughts of like, what's going on,
yeah,
what's going on, what's happening,
yeah,
in terms of talking about your identity and
mm,
realizing that, like, man, to be fair, in my head, I'm Doctor This. Like, how can I come this far
yeah,
in my life?
yep,
And challenge kind of brought it up to the surface that
yeah,
I think in terms of Doctor This, my life, my speech, my psyche, everything I'm
yeah,
doing is around medicine.
yeah,
um, when I see myself in the future,
yeah,
it's medicine, and it's almost like having to talk about that, having to be vulnerable, having to be
yeah,
vulnerable with my struggles.
yeah,
What comes very easily, an email, taking 30 minutes to write because you're at that point where you're not even sure of the words,
yeah, yeah.
how to arrange it.
You're
How
second
do you
guessing
start?
everything.
Yeah, suggesting everything. How do you start talking to someone about that? So
Yeah,
yeah, I had a coach way before then, um, you know, and I think we're speaking on a semi-professional basis, but I think I just had to utilize that resource a
yeah,
lot more. I had to utilize the NHS talking therapy services a lot more just to manage that because it's a spiral once it starts.
yeah.
You said it's a vicious
Difficult to get off.
cycle.
Yeah,
So just to get in there, break that cycle. Read a couple of books, um, um, How to Master Your Thinking, and then there's another book called Psycho-Cybernetics. Um,
okay, yeah. I've heard about that one. I've not read it yet. I've heard about it.
yeah, it's a good book, and I had to do the exercises in the book.
Yeah, yeah,
So yeah, so I think coming out of myself, um, you know, not just talking to people, but looking at it from other
yeah.
people's perspectives,
Okay.
taking on the feedback they were giving me, kind of gets me a 360
Yeah,
view of myself, taking like in a healthy way, anyways.
yeah,
Help me to just start to have a different perspective about what was going on. Yeah.
yeah. I have a question. So obviously you are where you are now. That appears to be a better place than what we're describing. This is it's two questions, but I think the answer is probably the same. So what are you doing now that is protective because you've learned things now, you've gone through some things, so we're not trying to go back there. And do you think that the burnout was inevitable? As in, were there things you could have done that might have been protective?
Yes.
Okay, okay,
Yes. Definitely. So what I'm doing now is a one word answer. I just say no with my
okay.
with my chest. I say no a lot more for starters.
Yeah, okay.
Like the first instance is no,
Yeah,
and then we can negotiate from there.
from there. Yeah, okay.
A lot more unapologetic about it.
Yeah,
And I know it's not unique to me. We're medics, we're saving lives, we're helping, we're
yeah,
caring. It's in your nature to go the extra mile,
yeah,
help, offer your services, things like that. So with the way I was operating, the burnout was inevitable. Um, if
Okay.
not now, it would have come
Yeah.
at some point, partly because I wasn't recognizing stress in
Mm.
myself. Like other people
Okay.
can get stressed, I cannot get stressed. Probably because I thought I
Okay.
was smarter than everybody else, or we all think we're smarter than
Yeah.
everybody else, or people they can suffer with this, but I cannot.
Yeah.
What does it take? It's knowledge. If you know what to do, you wouldn't be stressed.
Yeah.
If you figure out a way, come up with a system,
Yeah.
all you have to do is wake up at night, study. There's no excuse. There's just
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
kind of. So the whole process was quite humbling for me because um, we all have our strengths, and for me,
Mm.
I felt like if I read stuff, I could understand it. So like, and medicine is about your knowledge, and if you have
Yeah.
knowledge, you can maximize experiences. So
Yeah.
that was my. I was on the cloud.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I was on the cloud. So that's why even the exam, I was like, even the fact that I didn't pass, I was still like, yeah, like I can do this. But I think it was just it was inevitable. It was inevitable that
Okay.
yeah, I would
So
have become
behaving the way you were at the time, burnout was
yeah,
inevitable.
yes.
Okay.
I didn't have the safeguards I have now.
Okay. So
I
let's
didn't
talk.
yeah,
Let's drill down. What kind of safeguards have you learnt? So you've been in a place that's darker. You're now out of
yeah.
it, and you know things now that you didn't know before. So what things are you doing now? No is one of them. No.
Yeah,
What else?
I just say no. Um, I kind of prioritize myself a lot more.
Hmm.
Um, and obviously it's perspective. Some people might see it as selfish.
Yeah.
I think it's selfish, but I know that I don't want to be where I was before.
Yeah.
Um, and I think the thing about it is the assumption that you could snap out of it. Um,
Yeah.
and when I started reading more about it then, and I realized that it can take up to a couple of years to
Mm.
come out of burnout. That's one thing at the back of my mind now that I'm like, better prevent, better avoid, better
Yeah.
manage
Yeah.
it. Obviously, I've changed the way I walk. So when I mean safeguard, it's just a sense of control. I
Yeah.
became a local GP. It's not a recommendation, but um, personally, my circumstances, you know, meant that I needed to just step back,
Yeah.
be more flexible. So I think that's where being a GP came in handy, and I mean other specialties
Yeah.
too
But
can
it
can
works for you, your current setup.
it works for me.
Yeah.
I can manage my life financially, which is very important,
Hmm.
and time with not overworking. Um, reorienting my priorities or same thing as my values,
Yeah.
to be like my peace of mind, my presence of mind, me being talking to you, and as I'm talking to you here, I'm here with you. I've
Yeah.
not been thinking about like the week, the documents, all of these
Yeah.
things, which are there, but they're manageable. I could I
Yeah.
could I'm not afraid of going into work. Um,
Yeah.
so that in some way, that sense of control over um, my workload, like I can have a discussion about it, have a productive discussion to say, okay, I'm not managing this workload in this time, so
Yeah.
can we adjust it? Because you can't kill the goose that lays the golden egg.
Yeah.
So that's one. A sense of control is one. Having in the back of my mind that I am susceptible to,
Mm.
burnout if I'm
Yeah.
exposed to prolonged stress.
Yeah.
Um, a lot of humility.
Yeah. I mean,
um,
you
yeah,
mentioned it before, and I think some people will be able to relate this idea that, oh, these things that we're talking about, that's for other people.
yeah,
That's that's not for me.
Yeah.
And um, I think it's good that you mentioned that level of humility to be able to say, nah, there, but for the grace of God, go I, and I am susceptible to this. So rather than it's almost an arrogance to be like, this, I'm the Bible says, let him who thinks, um,
He stands the kid. Yeah.
yeah, take heed lest he fall. Pride comes before a fall. So it's
Yeah.
important for us to recognize that is. I mean, I've talked to people and they're like, "Oh, how could you do that? How could that could happen?" And now I'm at the stage that look, anything can happen to anybody. So it's not in your interests to believe that you're above it.
Yeah.
I think it's sensible for us to be like, okay, well, I guess I'm a human being. It's human nature to be affected by these things. So now I'm hearing this. In fact, I wanted to ask another question. You said about you didn't recognize stress. Are you? Because some people have like a physical reaction. When now, how do you recognize like your barometer for stress? I'm now at a level where I have to do something. It's getting to the point where if I don't do something, I'm going to end up where I was before. Like, how do you see it in
How do I,
yourself?
how do I know if I'm stressed?
Yeah.
Think one way that I know that I am probably running on fumes is my patience.
Okay.
My patience. When I start to get impatient, then I probably know that my resources are running low, or I'm kind of going in, to the deep end.
Yeah.
And it's something that it's not anyway for me. It's not easy. It's not difficult to identify if I'm speaking with patients and I'm not really listening,
Mm.
and I'm like, get to the point, and I'm interrupting, and I'm like, I'm asking, do you have a headache? Oh, I have pain in my knee, um, because of my, let me say my mission, the way I feel like I want to consult, even if
Yeah.
there's limited time,
Yeah.
I will give 10 seconds, which is a lot of time in 10
To
minutes.
explore. Yeah. Yeah.
15, just like, okay, and then maybe signpost, reorient the patient, which is my responsibility,
Yeah. Yeah.
um, to be in charge, like driving.
Yeah.
I can't just make a sudden turn or,
Yeah. Yeah.
step on the brakes. I need to be responsible for the passenger, which is, the patient, and
Yeah.
we're doing this together. And then maybe take a few more seconds, reorient them, make them feel like they're being listened to,
Yeah.
as compared to this gut reaction of what is, like, I asked you about your, sorry, I'm not being muted. Can you hear me
No,
okay?
I can hear you now. For 2 seconds, you were
Okay, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I'm not sure why I was being muted. So yeah, so as compared to this gut feeling of like, here we go again,
Yeah.
roll my eyes at the back of my
Yeah.
head. My patience level is
Yeah.
really low. So that's with the patients, and maybe with my family, a little bit of irritability.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
not down. I'm not there. I'm not present.
Yeah.
I'm, you know, shocked. I am, misinterpreting, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
all statements. I'm defensive.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And obviously there's also the, exhaustion of
Yeah.
like, so I've identified the triggers, which is like, okay, first of all, sleep.
Mm.
Did I sleep well? Okay. Have I drank enough water?
Yeah.
Am I well hydrated? Then I now start going back.
Going
Then I
backwards.
go
Okay.
to the thing that I spend my most energy on during the day, which is work. Then I
Yeah.
now start thinking, okay, how am I meeting the challenge of, of work? But that one is key. Once I start to have this um, irritation and impatience of,
Yeah.
with patients, and I think we all kind of, I know it's not unique to me. I know I said I can identify that in me, but you can tell the difference when you go on holiday and you come back
Yeah.
and you're nice
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and you're
Yeah. Absolutely.
patient.
Yeah.
So that was something that, like, I was like, okay, the first thing, the tension,
Yeah.
the impatience,
Yeah. No,
yeah,
you're absolutely right. And I think it's just a shame that ironically we got into healthcare to care. But one of the signs of burnout is like as in healthcare settings is that we start not to care.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
possible to then interact with the patient and not be moved by the thing that they're saying or
You
become
don't see
irritated.
them.
Yeah, absolutely,
You don't
absolutely.
see them. Yeah, you
Yeah,
don't see the person in front of you. You
yeah,
just go
exactly.
medical headache. Is it
Exactly,
this? Is it
exactly.
this? Is it this?
Yeah,
Paracetamol. Go next.
yeah. For
Yeah,
me on the board, sometimes so patients will come and complain about this and that, and it can seem like an um imposition or
yeah,
an
yeah,
interruption when it's our job.
yeah.
My job
Feels
is
like
to serve.
such a bother. Like, you're supposed to have one problem. How dare you mention two? What is wrong?
Seriously,
Don't you know what's in the contract? Yeah,
honestly. But like, and I think it's good that you have the awareness. And for somebody who's listening, it's like if that's something that's happening, it can be easy if you don't have the self awareness to be like, the problem is external. This person is irritating me, rather than the fact that I think I might be burnt out. And if we're not careful, from an external, internal locus of control point of view, you can have problems. And rather than look inwards and say, where am I?
what's going on?
Yeah, I think I
I
need to
think I
look.
think I think it's important to make a distinction. I know we talked about stress, and then I know you mentioned burnout,
Yeah,
which is, I know you're well versed in this because I've been listening to you. But like, stress is here, stress is there, stress is yesterday, stress
yeah,
is tomorrow, stress will be
yes,
next week. But burnout is that persistent
yes.
feeling of, like,
Almost
I'm
like a
irritated today, I'm
tinnitus.
irritated. Yeah, exactly. Like, everything is, your colleagues are now irritating. Their
Yeah,
mistakes are more
yeah, yeah, yeah.
glaring.
Yes,
Everything is just like, painful. And then you go to the wider NHS and you're more
yeah.
like, the system is, and you're, you
No,
know, yeah,
honestly, it's
yeah,
and I mean, looking at the NHS, I think that there are a significant amount of people who are burnt out. And again, if we're not careful, what we will do is because I think there's a duality of conversation. There is, what is a reasonable amount to do. What is a reasonable amount of work to do with a reasonable amount of resources? That's a conversation to have. But there's a
yeah,
separate conversation to have is that my perception of what's happening might be colored by the fact that I'm running on empty.
yeah.
So in which case, there isn't a reasonable amount, no matter what you give.
Yeah, no, yeah,
Everything,
exactly. You tend to go towards
exactly,
the negative. Yeah,
exactly. Everything is too much. Everything's a struggle. So yeah, I think it's really, really important that people have the time to identify the trigger to say this is what I look like, this is what I sound like when I'm burnt out. So if I'm starting to get snappy, if I'm starting to disengage, if I'm starting to be cynical, you know, I I may need a break. I might need a holiday. I might need something to be able to take a step back and say, because unfortunately, especially for those of us who are patient facing, the consequences of that interaction might not be great. And everybody has a bad day. But what I don't want to do is put myself in a position where, because of something that I haven't dealt with in myself, I then have a negative interaction with the
yeah,
with the patient.
yeah. Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
So my burnout framework on my let me see what you think about this. So I would liken burnout to energy expenditure. So energy bankruptcy. So because you remember you said a few times I was running on empty, I was running on empty, I was running on empty, and I think that so one of the things I notice is that so I wear many hats. So I'm a dad, I'm a husband, I'm a brother, I'm a son, I'm a doctor, I'm a musician, I'm a author. So I'm all of these things, and everywhere in my life, somebody's asking. There is an ask. It's not even like this is wrong. It's right. My kids. The nature of me being a dad is that my kids want from me. That's absolutely fine. The fact
Yeah.
that I'm married, it's a give and take relationship with my wife. Wants from me, I want from her. Like that's normal. But if I'm not careful, what will happen is that I'm giving, and over time, I'm not. My tank is empty because of the fact that I haven't been intentional about
Feeling up.
putting back in me.
Yeah.
People say the phrase, "You can't give out of an empty tank." And so I believe that the framework, one of the things that you kind of identified is having a robust framework to say, well, what kinds of things give me life? And I need to be intentional about, well, I need to do those things. So for me, I need to pray. I need to talk to God. I need to read the Bible. I need to speak to my wife. I need to spend time with my kids. I need to um, watch a funny film, watch things that revive me because
Yeah.
I'm going to that like the ask is going to come. there's no,
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
no. In for most of us, we're not in a situation where for realistically we can say, for 2 years, I'm just going to do me. Most of us
Yeah.
don't have that, so I have to be able to say, well, okay. And the analogy that I give is a straw. So straws don't get tired. So let's say I have a drink, I had a straw in it. The straw isn't the thing that is expending energy getting the water to my mouth. And for me, it's me being a conduit. There is energy available. There is resources available. There are ways that I can fill my tank so that the inevitable energy that I have to expend isn't coming from me, it's coming through me. What from your point of view, does that resonate with you at all, or
I mean, it's not something that I have thought about in terms of coming through me. I guess I
mm,
have to think about it. I do understand what you're talking about,
yeah,
because of what I believe, but I haven't thought about it.
yeah,
But in terms of resonating, I do have my happy list. I
okay,
made my happy list.
fantastic,
Um, Saturday mornings, I make some kind of food for my family. I cook breakfast.
yeah,
Maybe I'm criticizing the quality of the food, but I cook breakfast for my
yeah,
family on Saturday morning.
yeah,
So um, in the past couple of years, I haven't worked on a Saturday and I haven't worked on a Sunday
yeah,
by choice. So that is time with family.
yeah,
And thinking back, it's one of the happiest times of my life, just
yeah,
pure happiness.
yeah,
Um, and repeating that over the past
yeah,
year has just made me go like, I'm not going to work on a Saturday morning because that the energy I get from just the
yeah,
laughter and the happiness and the rough and tumble
yeah,
and knowing that I'm not going anywhere.
yeah,
Like we're here and my kids know, my wife knows I'm not going anywhere.
yeah,
I'm here.
yeah,
If you need me, it's just like, okay, that's high on the list. Taking time off, I have a day of the week, which is today essentially, which I don't do anything. I don't
okay,
have any, I don't put any obligation on myself. So
yeah,
if I feel like, doing something, I will send a few emails, do a few tasks, some create PDFs I need to create, some, work, but there's no obligation.
yeah,
I don't need to do anything.
yeah,
And that just builds energy in
Mm.
me. Because obviously you have to think about your personality. Some people might
Yeah.
need to go on some long walks, go to
Yeah. Yeah.
nature. Uh, I know that invigorates me going on a walk, the clarity I get from a 10-minute walk, but with kids, is that practical? So I think it's just working out, that happy list for
Yourself.
me,
Yeah.
that those times where I just feel just happiness by the action itself, not
Yeah.
like anything, like not I'm not buying anything, I'm not going out shopping, I'm not like I'm just happy in the simple fact of the stuff I'm doing.
Doing. Yeah.
And it helps me connect with it helps me feel like myself.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to. I won't call it mumbo jumbo, but I don't want to go too abstract. It just
Yeah.
helps me connect with myself. Just
Yeah.
like, okay, I'm on call yesterday. It's a long day. I give my everything, but I know I'm not working tomorrow, so I can afford to give my everything.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
then
Yeah.
today, I'm by myself. I'm watching TV. I'm just chilling. I'm just writing.
Yeah.
I'm just reading. I read 2 pages today of
Yeah.
a book I've been wanting to read, but
Yeah.
no stress.
Yeah.
Next week Thursday, I'm going to read it again.
Yeah. Yeah.
When
Yeah.
I'm alone. So yeah, I think having a happy list, for me, um, really that I know I can go to,
Yeah.
um, a book, a warm place, a cup of tea, reading, writing,
Yeah.
pure joy. And I think being able to do that on a consistent basis,
Yeah.
having the flexibility to do that, gives me energy. So I know I'm not answering your question directly in terms of coming through me, but I think just realizing that you can't give what you don't have.
Don't have to.
You can't really respond to those um, demands if you're constantly on empty, and those things kind of fill my tank.
Yeah.
Just two of many things. Maybe the rest of them might be too personal to share, but
Yeah. Yeah.
it's simple things that I've started doing that are just helping me feel like myself.
And
Yeah.
is that so that's so obviously you've got a day in the week where you can relax, weekends are there. Is there anything that you're doing daily that you weren't doing before? Or is it really a weekly thing? Like you've got a schedule. This schedule keeps me grounded, keeps me myself, keeps me de-stressed, and I can keep
Um,
going.
it's something that I'm working on. It's something I'm working on to possibly have a more consistent routine. Because when I manage to do that, then I know what gives me the most energy. It's prayer.
Mm.
Um, when I manage to wake up early and then spend some quality time there,
Yeah,
almost like I can breathe. and
yeah,
I ask myself, like, why don't I do this more often?
yeah,
I think again, approaching it with more of um, I'm going to use the word ease and lightness
yeah. Rather than pressure. Yeah,
rather than pressure
yeah,
of when I do it, I do it. So even if I know that this is what I need to do, once I walk myself up, then I kind of avoid it.
yeah,
Once I, relax and ease off and approach it with lightness, I tend to do it and even enjoy it. So
yeah,
obviously my circumstance is different from other people.
yeah,
With younger kids, you do not sleep. So I'm like,
yeah,
I
yeah,
think I think for me, I'm just gonna sleep. I think that's
yeah.
part of my
Self-care.
meditation. Yeah, yeah.
No, I
So
mean it's interesting because unfortunately, a lot of people as doctors were type A personalities, and there's a lot of resilience built into our framework. But resilient people tend to be people who were affected most by burnout because we cope and 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 I was up and I
yeah,
was up and I was up
you
and I was
you
up and I was up
bend
and I
you
was up and I
bend
was up.
till you break.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
Yeah,
And having been in a situation of burnout myself, and from your story, my advice to people is if at all possible, you can put things in place so you don't have to experience it. I would advise that you do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
You
It's
know,
not. It's not.
yeah,
It's not. It's not a nice place to look up from.
yeah,
Yeah, because you wonder, is this gonna end? Is it always gonna be this
mm,
way?
yeah,
Yeah, it's not. It's not. It's something to avoid. It's something that I wouldn't want to experience.
yeah,
Again, it's part of why I'm sharing my experience. To be like, yeah, I know there's someone out there that will be like, mm, you feel like you're invisible to
yeah,
these things, but there's life.
yeah.
It
Absolutely,
catches up with
absolutely.
you
Yeah,
one way or the other.
yeah.
Yeah,
So, I mean, I think this is a good place to to start rounding up. So,
yeah.
if you, so there's probably somebody who is in the place that you were in when you couldn't see light. So speak to that person like you would have spoken to yourself if you could have gone back in time. What would you tell that person?
So I say this with care. I'll say it in context. Um, Two things basically. One of the things I'll say is depersonalization is part of burnout, where you do not feel like yourself. You feel like you're someone else. You don't recognize yourself. You
Mm,
might be this, you know, that person. Set your mind to it. Believe it. Put the work in. Get the results. But it's important not to personalize the experience and let it define you.
mm,
It's important not to personalize the struggle, or I'm going to use the F word, which is failure. You can't afford to personalize failure or whatever if you think you're failing at what you're doing.
yeah,
You can't personalize it at all. The other aspect of what you need to you know the other side of the coin. So one of them is that don't personalize failure. Don't personalize the experience too much. Don't let it define you. The more you dwell on it, the more you think about it.
yeah,
It becomes part of the cycle. It's more difficult to break out of. But the other thing that it's important to um, look at is, let me just try and phrase it, is it's a journey. It's not something that can be snapped out of. So even if you come to that moment of realization,
yeah,
it's still a journey to put those building blocks in place, to put the rungs on the ladder, and then to climb out. So I think it's about managing the expectation of getting better, knowing that it's a journey, and then
yeah,
valuing those little improvements.
yeah,
And it's you just have to be. It's difficult in that moment, but we just have to take responsibility and be accountable for our own well-being.
yeah,
It's not something that you want to hear when you're down. It feels like someone is kicking you, but it's part of that realization process.
yeah,
Like the decision to, you know, gain control or adjust your workload, or things like that. There might be consequences financially and otherwise, but that 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 the key is in your hand.
yeah. That's really good. I think sometimes in this situation, especially when there's a storm around or storm inside, it can feel like it's never ending, or it can feel like um, your decisions won't matter no matter what I do. This is a situation. I think what Inamuna and I are trying to encourage you to say is that no, actually, no, it is possible for you to make a change. It's possible for you to start on the journey. And even if you're going in the wrong direction, you can turn around and start walking in the right direction. It will, if you keep going, the goal that you want to get to, of that feeling of control, that feeling of ease, that feeling of ability, and capability, you can get that back. Don't. So you're speaking to two guys who've been through burnout. So it's not, you're not the only person. So don't about that. But if there's somebody you need to talk to, there's probably somebody in your life that if you opened up to, they would listen. They would give you a compassionate ear, and if they didn't know where to point you, they would help walk with you on the journey to find some answers. So please talk to people, and don't feel like this is an unsurmountable task. It might take some time, but it is possible to get out. So we've talked about a happy list. We've talked about energy bankruptcy. We've talked about energy going through us. There are lots of things that hopefully you'll go back and listen and think, I'm going to make some notes. I want to do that. But Dr. Inamuna, I am so grateful for your time. I know that you're a busy man, taking territories, making making moves. So first of all, I want to thank your wife and your kids for lending me out, lending you out to me for this. So I've appreciated it.
I'll extend the thanks to them.
Yeah, please do. All right, thank you so much for your time, and again, keep listening to this podcast, and like and subscribe and share. It's really important that we get these kinds of messages out so that people know that A, they're not alone, and B, there's a light at the end of the tunnel. So till next time, guys, take care.